short-sleeved shirt, Levi's, a belt buckle made from the horn of a ram, and cowboy boots with 2-inch heels. It's a way of life, he's saying. It's not an 8-to-5 job. We're up in the Shell Creek Range at 9,000 feet in a forest of mountain mahogany. Aspens are already orange in the higher draws, chokecherry bushes red. The mountain mahogany is still green. The road is just a double track and rocky, and he takes it very slowly. Coming out of the trees onto a bone-dry slope of sage and grassland, we look 25 miles over Spring Valley to the Snake Range. Grasshoppers are clicking, snapping. We pass a cow and a calf, another cow and her calf. Black Angus. Feed stays longer in the mountains, he says. Grass doesn't burn as much. What do they drink? There are seeps among the aspens. Wandering around on my own a couple of days ago, I crossed a cattle guard at 10,000 feet. Cattle start drifting off the mountain at this time of year, he goes on. They know where they're going when it gets cool, if they were born here. Back east is where the calves are going, to weight-making pastures and feedlots. But Chris means that cattle in the mountains at the end of summer will move in the direction of the valley ranches to which they belong, will sort themselves out with a homing instinct. They are rounded up as well, gathered off the range, and then the calves are shipped. This country here is cow-calf country. People don't put up enough feed for calves, so they sell them before winter. Every shipment must be certified in person by the district brand inspector, or by a deputy. Chris's district is, for the most part, White Pine, Nye, and Lincoln counties, which covers an area about the size of New York State. When Chris says that cattle are headed back east, he usually means Colorado, or something close to Colorado. As it happens, he has never been farther east than that. A calf is worth about $1 a pound. Every one of those calves is like a $300 bill sitting there, he says, as slowly descending we pass more cow-calf pairs. Chris has found strays in southern Nye County that belong in Elko County. In other words, they strayed 200 miles. I think they had some help, he says gently. Mistakes do happen. In White Pine County, he has found strays from Roosevelt, Utah. 250 miles measured with a string. Stare as I will at the cattle, I have to ask him what the brands are. I'm not just suggesting that the brands are unfamiliar. I'm saying that I can't even see them. Of course, I may be looking at the wrong side, or I may be studying the shoulder when the brand is on the hip. But by and large, I see only a few disjunct lines, not whole letters and whole numbers in geometric forms. I couldn't tell a lazy S from a rolling M if my life depended on it, or a running F from a lazy walking A. I see instead what appear to be old foundations under sod. It's getting a little cooler now, he says tactfully. They're beginning to hair up. With the smallest touch of frustration, I ask him, "Do you see the brand on that one?" "Yes." His characteristic yes is firm but slow. It has a lazy, lingering Y. "What is the brand?" "H-bar," he says. "Real low behind the shoulder. See it?" "No." Brands are like fish in a river, visible to the accomplished eye. As a matter of fact, I'm no good at seeing fish either. Fly rod in hand, I have stood in paralytic outrage while someone shouted, "There, right there, don't you see them? Here they come, they're right beside you." If these Angus cattle had my middle name on them, I wouldn't know it. Brands will show best in raking light. Sunshine is the brand inspector's best friend, and sometimes a shadow. Chris remarks. Shirley Robison, his predecessor, now retired, has told me, "You can run cattle through just almost as fast as they can go if you've got the sun with you, you know, and if you're an experienced brand inspector. A lot of people can't see irons." It helps to be a tracker. Both Shirley and Chris can look at desiccated ground and note that a light sprinkling of rain fell on it for a few minutes 2 days before. "How would you know if you weren't raised to know that?" Shirley said. If you can learn to see a vanished rain shower, you can learn to see brands. "My job is to make sure that neighbors don't ship other neighbors' cattle," Chris is saying. "But if all a rancher does is put his iron on his neighbor's slick calf, intent is hard to prove. He'll just say it was a mistake." After a time, he adds, "I shouldn't know anybody's cattle better than they know their own. If you've got a cow that doesn't belong to you, it sticks out like a sore thumb." Especially if it's slick, unbranded. A young, unmarked animal is also known as an Oriana, a maverick, a long-eared calf. If you find someone else's Oriana mixed in with your cattle, you might be tempted to put your own iron on it. You might be tempted just to pocket that $300 bill. Slick bull calves and slick heifers aren't just everywhere, though, and a truly dedicated thief will need to alter existing brands. One does not have to be a Viennese forger to see that a lazy E could become a lazy spiked E, or a lazy right-up JM combined. Not that anyone with those brands would ever think of such a thing. I'm merely offering some random possibilities as a result of a browse through the brand book. Routinely, the Livestock Identification Bureau in Reno sends Chris drawings of newly approved brands that are not yet in the book. His responsibility is to make sure that neighbors' brands are not similar. Once, for example, Reno sent him a 5/8 combined. An established brand on a ranch near the applicant's was Bar S combined. "It don't take too much imagination," Chris says, his voice trailing off. After hearing from Chris, the Bureau told the applicant to think up another brand. In a general way and without accusation, he has worried about how easily a quarter-circle V could turn into a quarter-circle M, or a quarter-circle flying V bar. And without too much running iron, a 4-box could even turn into an AG combined. If it was burned heavy, the open part of the G would look like an ordinary blotch. The running iron is the rustler's traditional tool. It might be just an iron ring tied to the saddle, or a conventional 4-foot poker. You build a fire and use it to doctor a brand. The business end of most running irons is a short, simple line. It becomes a red-hot stylus for metamorphic sketching. The business end of some running irons is as broad and flat as a playing card. You use that to blot out what you can't change. Be warned, though, there is pentimento in the hide, a history readable from within. Shirley Robison explained, "You take the critter and kill it and have the hide tanned and turn it over, and on the flesh side every iron shows just as plain as can be. Anyone can see where it's been altered or blotched." In California some years ago, rustlers went off with 3 18-wheelers full of cattle. $120,000 robbery. Few people rustle cattle on that scale in Nevada, but to steal as much as one wet-nosed calf is grand larceny. People with gooseneck trailers sometimes shoot cattle, speed winch them into the trailers, and butcher them on the spot. The brand inspector is authorized to make arrests, but in country this size there's not much he can do to catch the butchers in the act.